ICT activities, but also service implementation was part of potential activities, of course, where we detected also the optimal or the the minimal skills required for being able to contribute to these activities. Secondly, the second part was to identify the real status within the different companies. What are the current SMEs activities, for example, and what is their actual skills and knowledge inside. The third part of the study was to identify these gaps. So we compared in reality A and B, so what is required for Inspire and to go beyond Inspire and what is available within the companies. And therefore we also detected the training needs, let's say. And the last part was more on the innovative potential for SMEs in this sector. What are they doing already beyond Inspire? And we had a few very specific questions related to innovative activities within companies. So some of the key findings, there are a lot more, but we have only 5 minutes, so only 2 slides on key findings. First of all, some interesting results on the characteristics of the sector. It's as such, I think it's the first time that there was a comprehensive revision of the sector. So we had questions on, okay, what is this exactly this geo-ICT sector? Where are the boundaries? We also see that a lot of ICT companies are just ICT companies, but also are active in this field. But of course, our focus was on the small and medium enterprises, which means very small companies with less than 50 employees and usually turnover less than 10 million. There's also a lot of micro companies with really only a few employees, the majority even. You see here that also the distribution is listed here, so the majority is really very small. Also, it was clear from the survey that most of these companies are active in different parts of the value chain, spatial information value chain. So collection of information, processing of information, making information available, building portals to give access to data and so forth. So the whole chain was covered. That was one big part of the findings. Second big part was how they are really currently involved. And then a major conclusion there is that most of them have as clients the public sector, which is obvious, I think, because SDI and Inspire related activities is mainly the public sector. Mainly also they are involved, most of the companies, in the usage and implementation or the integration of existing spatial data in applications, for example. The real involvement in the implementation of Inspire is relatively limited, in the sense that we saw that a lot of public sector actors are doing that themselves, partially, sometimes supported by companies, but not always. So there is some scope and room for improvement. Third important key finding is, and that was a question, are the geo-ICT companies in Europe having the skills and this knowledge to participate in these activities? Clearly there is a good knowledge between the SMEs within the SMEs about Inspire. Knowledge about is there. And there are some very specific competences and skills available, mainly related to metadata development, implementation of view service, for example, that is popping up everywhere, and maybe in a lesser degree some of the other activities. And for example, we saw that the contribution to transformation of spatial data sets to the specifications is there's a lot less focus on that. And also the knowledge and the skills about that needs to be developed. And the fourth big conclusion or finding is around the question, does Inspire already have an impact? Do they see the impact of Inspire on their activities, or do they see future impact on their activities? Most of them state there is already an impact that can be seen, but they expect really an increase to come over the next few years, especially with new products and services that can be developed, new customer markets. So let's say the development on top of the Inspire infrastructure rather than the development of the infrastructure itself. Despite that, they also deem that there are still barriers for doing innovative activities, but for all kind of reasons, not only knowledge and skills, but also available money for investment and things like that. So that's the figure there is to indicate where they see new developments in the future. They see especially new customers, but also new products and services, eventually new methods to be applied in the context of Inspire. It's fully reported, the results on the website, which is still online.
Yep.
It has been already used as well, the results of the study also in the policy evaluation, but I think there will be some presentations in the conference during the week. There have been several articles and papers, and all this material, when it was published, is available on the website. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
I think you are the next one for so.
I'm the next one, but there are no questions. I guess it's at the end, or
yes. In a while, I ask you to address this because we forgot. It was my fault.
Like that? Am I not clear? Okay. Ah, it's working. It's strange.
It was my fault.
But you didn't use it either. Okay. I will take. Okay, this is our own presentation. So we were responsible as K11 for developing a training curriculum for Inspire. So it's together with my colleague Glenn, who is in the back. He's trying to hide, but he's there. But also I want to mention my former colleague Catharina Bams, who might be here, but she moved from K11 to the Commission. And then also, well, different people, different contributors from the consortium. The objective of this activity in the context of this network was to develop, focusing on vocational training, so not academic training, but vocational training, to develop a training curriculum according to different levels of knowledge and skills requirements related to different roles within the context of Inspire. Of course, this was based on the study. What are the skill gaps? What is the difference between what is the knowledge and the skill base now in the SMEs and what is necessary? But also we had from different project partners, different experience in other projects. And we relied also heavily on what is called the body of knowledge for GI science and technology, which is have been developed a long time ago in the US and which is currently being revised in the context of Europe as well in another project. So, but we based ourselves on previous experience and we tried to start from there to develop those training curricula. So what we learned from this study specifically for the curricula is this general knowledge on Inspire is observed, but not necessarily in all SMEs, so there is scope for improvement there. There is specific knowledge and skills is also observed, so many SMEs are active in very particular fields of Inspire. For example, a lot of SMEs active to develop geoportals, for example, national geoportals, but also lack of other skills to be really actively involved can be observed as well. So that was a starting point a little bit. And we also observed that very few SMEs really work on very new innovative solutions. There are some good examples, but usually it's the basic activities related to Inspire. The potential is also acknowledged, so we wanted to include that in the curriculum development. But then really the step towards activities to do that on their own is still big. Also some SMEs mentioned explicitly the problem, the lack of knowledge and the complexity of Inspire implementation. So what we have done to develop this curricula is to, in 4 steps, we started in fact to scrutinize again the Inspire directive, the implementing rules, and from there we defined what we call Inspire business processes. Well, the big process is implementation of Inspire, but then you can split it down, slice it down. And then in the next step we define, based on this process, we define what is really necessary as knowledge and skills to cover all these activities. And since we were basing ourselves on the BOK, the body of knowledge, that's working with what we call topics and units. Topics are related to concepts and specific areas. So we try to define that. And thirdly, you could also reverse it 2 and 3, but thirdly we identified potential job profiles at a high level. So at the end we defined 3 of them: Inspire management, Inspire data specification experts, and Inspire service experts, so the technical experts. You could split that as well if you want so. And then in the fourth step, we combined all this information in what we call learning paths, so it's linking step 2 and 3. The business processes are mentioned there. In the meantime, in another project, we revised them and we split them up in more detailed processes, but that were the ones that we detected at that time. At the end, I put here 20, but I include also some additional modules that are developed in the meantime. But there were, in the context of the project, 17, as was mentioned before, by different partners. They were putting together, and they focus usually on different experts, or some are for the different experts, of course. Different levels also, basic, advanced, and innovative modules. Usually there are self-learning modules, e-learning, and different formats. So the minimum is PPT with audio, but there are also a lot of web lectures. It means also including video. So you can find it on the website of Smespire. This is just an example of a web lecture. We invited Claire Hatley. She's not in the room. I saw her downstairs, I think, but she's running around. She's expert, of course, on data and service sharing, so she came to Leuven and we recorded a full lecture. This is only part of it because it was a full half day or even more, I think. Maybe to mention as well that all these modules are currently being revised in the context of LinkFit, another LLP project, and then in the course of the next year and a half, I think revised modules will become available under that project on also a e-learning platform. And that's it.
Thank you, Danny, very much. I invite Giorgio to present the training platform in which these modules are available. You can put them in the jacket if you don't want to.
Okay. Can you hear? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So Danny already presented the training curricula, the content of the training offer that the Smespire will give. From our side, we were responsible for the organization of all the training material together with the website, and I'm going to give you the access point where to find all the resources that have been developed in this process. Of course, yes, in 5 minutes, but it's quite easy. So at first, we have these training packages that include the training platform itself, but also other the resources like the seminar that has been already presented, for example, mentioned by Danny before, and also some webinars that we have Inspire Knowledge Exchange event that has been collected during this project. So indeed, we had some series of webinars that has been developed, in particular in Italy, for implementation of the Inspire requirement, and also the hackathon on data harmonization. That was a very important event that should be applied sometime because it was very successful. The Leuven seminars, that was a program of seminars on the training section related to the Inspire implementation, with a series of seminars that has been included in the training framework, let me say, and the training platform itself that represent one of the main output of this project. We come about this structure from several projects that Danny mentioned before, like Humboldt, NATO Day Plus, and so on. And we consider that with a catalog of training models, with the availability of the resources and in particular the different training models that has been developed during the project. So we have this training platform constituted in the platform itself that hosts the the modules, but also what we call the training package, the description of the training offer with all the available modules described by metadata. Interesting of that we had a discussion and the synergies with other projects to have a standard meta structure of the metadata, so we have interoperability of the training offer between the different projects that we are going. That is a very important thing that has been developed also in the framework of the other, in cooperation with the other project. Then we have a catalog of learning paths according to the different job profile, and then the access to the training platform. This is a list of the available modules that come from the introduction to Inspire, the basic Inspire data and service sharing, data specification, metadata and data validation, and so you can read that, but mainly you can access that looking at the website. So it's in 5 minutes I cannot explain all those things. So the training material consists of text lectures, presentation, audio presentation, web lectures, video lectures, exercise. The most interesting thing for you, I think, that we have defined to provide this material under Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike licensing, so to ensure maximum dissemination and the use of the project result. The material is then collected in the platform, but all the presentations are also available, for example, in SlideShare and the video lecture in YouTube, making material easy to be accessed. The learning platform that is at GZIG is transparent for you, but we have this facility that to create this catalog of to host all the training material itself, and in some ways constitute the infrastructure, all the, hosting the training modules and the training material. With open source learning management system, so it's quite easy to update, to be interoperable, open to all the project members, the partners, and all the network of the members, so it's more than 500, so we have personalized access, all the network members can access to the learning using the same credential. We have feedback mechanism, and the platform allow to monitoring the use progress of the user as a student and teacher interaction about that. Just some figure. This is accessible from the website under the section training. It's this. You can see the list of modules here. For example, you have the metadata. This is the first part of the metadata, the source, the ownership, the abstract, and the other information like the language, the duration, and so on. That's fine. This is assessing the platform. You can select what you like. And this is, for example, is a self-learning material from Introduction to Inspire, and you can find, for example, here the presentation about the things. Here we have also the text lecture audio, for example, audio presentation. This we have the web lectures, for example, like for the seminars in Louvain, and also some video lectures. Then we have this, for example, is an example of data transformation, where you can have the full course description, the web courses, and the example of data transformation related file. So all the resources you have in one package to follow each particular module. some numbers. There is 17, 18 modules, about 600 users. That most of the already 60 already started to follow all the training package, because it was available, fully available just at the end of the project. That is in April, so it's just a very good thing. So we have 44 presentation, lectures, and training modules. And as anticipated by Giacomo, the metadata are available in 10 languages of the projects.
Thank you, Giorgio, for having provided the best ways to access the website and have a look at them. Okay. We proceed with the next presentation, which is for the best practice. Is the database, yeah, the same? Sorry?
So you have to be a registered user for the e-learning package.
Yes, the idea is to make these resources, the metadata, in order to look at which are the profiles and whatever, to the public. But if you want to follow the courses, you have to be registered, which is just an automatic procedures of a few seconds to receive the password to access that. We have more or less followed the same approach. For instance, for the best practice catalog, the information is publicly available, but if you want to insert, to edit a best practice, you have to be registered.
Okay. Good morning, my name is Umberto Di Sousa from Fondazione Grafitec, and in this presentation I will show and explain the work that has been done for design the Smespire database and use it. Smespire database in a sentence. The Smespire database is one of the most important project outcomes, representing a key asset for the project, useful to extract real indicator and map competencies from SMEs across the Europe. One of the most important documents that was used to design the Smespire database is the ISA core vocabulary that is provided by the ISA program. In particular, the ISA core vocabulary contains a complete definition of people, business, and the location that is recognized at the European level. At the bottom of this slide, it is possible to see the URL of the document that was used. Using the guidelines that are provided by the document that I mentioned before, in this slide the complete structure of the Smespire database is reported. In particular, on the top of this ER diagram, it is possible to see some yellow tables. The yellow tables are the one that was designed by the use of the ISA core vocabulary. The ISA core vocabulary contains all the tables name, the attributes, and the relation between them to describe people, location, and business. But how to use the contents that are stored in the Smespire database? Well, we develop a web application that can be found at database.smespire.eu. This slide shows the main web page of the web application that we've developed. As it is possible to see, the main part is the bottom part of this image, where a table contains all the information about the network members, a summary of this kind of information, and each user can perform basic and advanced search with the search form that is in the middle of the web page. For each network member, it is available a public web page that contains all the public information that are related to the selected SMEs, to the selected member network. In particular, as it is possible to see in this image, there is the logo of the company, the geographical position on the map, some information about the organization, the address of the person of contact, and on the bottom of the page there will be a summary of the European project in which the organization has been involved, and a summary of the best practice that will be explained in the next presentation. But how to modify and update this kind of information? For each network member, the system after the registration will provide some credentials that will be used to access the private web page of each network member that is shown in this slide. Some useful indicators to better understand the overall dimension of the Smespire database. Currently there are 594 network members, but this number is still increasing. The major part of the network members belong to the category SMEs. There are many categories of members that are allowed by the system, for example, SMEs, large enterprise, public body, individual professional, and etc. Join the community. How to become a member of the Smespire network? Well, it is simply required to fill in the Smespire network adhesion form with some basic data. For example, the organization name, the address, the position of the map will be recognized automatically. And at the end, some account information, the person of contact information, and well, username and password. Thank you for your attention, and the URL is database.smespire.eu/register.
Accessible also from the homepage. And I invite Zina to present the best practice catalog.
My name is Zhenya Volcheva. I'm working for Infologica company, and we had been the SME partner who developed the best practice catalog under Work Package 3. So the best practice catalog is a structured repository of different types of components provided basically by GeoICT companies, but also from their best practices provided from legally mandated organizations, public authorities, and other types of organizations. It has search and statistics functionality. Best practices are classified by different code lists within the application, and the application also establishes a link to several standards, ISO standards in the geographic domain, like geographic information, special data infrastructure, and procedures for item registration. To access the best practice application, you have to go to the Smespire homepage, and you can access it directly from the links pointing to the best practice catalog, or another option is to access it from Smespire database link. The homepage of best practice catalog application is divided into two sections. The first section presents the last 5 submitted best practices ordered by date descending. The second section presents the top 5 most popular practices ordered by number of unique votes and number of views, also descending. The best practice catalog search functionality is also available from the homepage. There are 2 types of search functions. Simple search is a free text search within several attributes of best practice data. You can see it on the screen. And the second one is advanced search, which is an extended simple search which allows extended options for sorting and filtering in different criteria, like title of the best practice, date, popularity, number of views, by country, and by code lists. For example, if we want to search for a best practice in the air quality domain, then we have simply to type in the text field air quality, and then we will get the result about the best practice. When we click on a title, we will get the data for the best practice itself. The main functionalities of the best practice catalog are accessible for registered users. You have to click on a login button, and having your credentials as an SME member, you are able to access the best practice functionalities. When you log in, you access the best practice homepage, the best practice submitted by your user. You are able to add new best practice. You are able, as a administrator, as a user with administrative rights, you'll be able to access configuration of code lists, and also as administrator you'll be able to add issues in the issue tracker. To add a new best practice, users simply have to click on the best practice button, and then a step-by-step wizard will be opened. To add a best practice, you have to use five-step wizard. It is available for SMEs database members, and it can be resumed at any time. This means that you are not obliged to complete your best practice at a certain time. Just starting this process, you can modify it later. So first, when you open the Add Practice application, you have to access the initial data submission. Under these steps, the user has to submit the initial data. The second step is the provision of links and files for the best practice. You can see it here. The third step is to provide co-authors of the best practice. The users are able simply to select from a list of available SMEs members who are already, if they are already registered in the Smespire network, or they have simply to type in a new co-author. The fourth step is, we should say, the most important step for the best practice catalog, because this step classifies the best practice under 11 code lists. Which you can see here. Each code list has its main groups, or some of the code lists have even subgroups under the main groups. So to have a user-friendly interface, we provided different types of options for selecting the code list, like simply checking on checkboxes, or selecting code list from a drop-down button, drop-down box, or sometimes it's needed just to write in a text field. The last step, as I mentioned, is to click the Finish button. When you click on a Finish button, you will finalize the best practice. Then it will be added in the section Edit Best Practices Catalog, and will be automatically publicated and will be available to the public. Otherwise, if you do not click Finish button, then the best practice will remain in an adding phase, and when the user logs in again, he will be able to access it at a later stage for further modification. In the best practice catalog, we have configure system code list functionality. This means that we have two main groups of code lists, system code lists and best practices code lists. System code lists more or less refer to the system parameters. This means that the administrator can edit code lists which are related to the system itself. So here is a sample screen about the available system parameters which user can edit. To edit code list, you have simply to click on a configure button and then click on edit button, and you get a pop-up screen where you can enter the new value of the code list. The second code list, which is fully modified in the best practice catalog, is the best practices code list. As I mentioned, we can have a main group of code lists and subgroups. Here we have an example for a group which have subgroups. For example, for metadata and data sets, we have subgroups. Both of them, the main group and the subgroups, are completely editable. Again, you have simply to click on an edit button and you can modify the reference code list. And some statistics which comes from our delivery 3.3, the last delivery which we had under work package 3. As we can see, the huge amount of the best practices had been delivered under Inspire and SDI related activities code lists, and most of them are related to metadata and datasets. The next screen presents the distribution by metadata, and this screen will present by datasets. So we can see that most of them are related to Annex 1, but there are a lot of in Annex 2 and 3 also. Thank you.
Thank you, Xenia. I think it's very important to see how flexible was the design of this system, because it allows to introduce new classification systems, and also useful to find, for instance, if one wants to see in this shop who made some transformation work related to protected sites, for instance, just entering these keywords is enabled to find out the best practice available on that field. I think, Giorgio, you are the next one to present the Web 2.0, and then we are approaching almost the end. Thank you.
Okay, so in the network, the website is a very important tool, and indeed Roderick made a great job during this project to make all and maintain all the website of the project with the contribution of all the partners for that. So indeed, when we started to design the website, we had in mind that this is the main awareness instrument of the network, and had to attract and build up the network from this. So we make a strong focus on the brand and visual identity of the network, update in a regular basis. That is crucial in the network, of course. A main instrument to give answer to the SME, so they speak the language of small and medium-sized enterprise. We take care about the accessibility and openness, focus on the resources, best practice, database, training has been already presented now, but there are the access point in from there, and then dissemination material, the repository, gateways to the social network, and there is also some multilingual aspect. So it's just some screens. This is the home page. You can see in the middle, join us, because this is the message that it's an open network, is not a closed network first. This is the database of the network, so it's just to invite to join the network as well. We have an overview, we have information about the consortium itself, we have publication, we have videos about that, so it's we had very popular download about these resources. We have news, for example, about the vocational training curriculum Inspire, for example, or about the conference here in the workshop here in the Inspire. We have the Join Us section that allow to find what is the benefit. There is the adhesion form. If we are not yet members, you are invited, by the way, to join the network. Even the project is finished, I think that Giacomo will say now in the next few minutes that is not finished. So you are asked to join this network. As I say, we have the social network. So, for example, the slide share. We have LinkedIn. We have YouTube channel, Twitter, and registered for the Inspire Forum about small and medium-sized enterprise section, and a few numbers. So you can see we had users, about 7,000 users, section 14,000, with different languages. Twitter, we have total views about the SlideShare channel that is quite new, and that was very, very successful in that part. We have about 1,000 visualization, news, subscribe to the newsletter. That was another part of the documentation that we make available for the project, and then simulation material, a lot of downloads. So I think that is just, you are invited to look at, have a look at the website.
Thank you, Giorgio. Let me spend now a few words before to start the panel session about the more details about the network. So we made a lot of networking activities during the project, aiming at setting up, first of all, the network in the participating EU member states. There was a contractual obligation, but then we immediately started to expand outside the EU member states. Also to expand not only in geographical terms, but also in the so-called vertical application domains like energy, transport, health, and many others, which use geospatial information independently of the role this geospatial information plays in their organizations. And then establishing also connection with geographic information related policy and initiatives at European level. And this fourfold objective was achieved by means of addition of new members to the network, of course, liaisons with organizations representing collective interest, allowing us to multiply the effect of the network. And also, as was mentioned by Danny, it was very important in terms of the networking with the policy-related part, the mention of Smespire in official documents of geographical information-related policy and initiatives at European level, like the report of Inspire and also the EULF vision document. This is a screenshot of the members, which are colored in terms of their organization type. We see that there is also some interest outside Europe, which is very promising for our future activities. This is a slide already presented by Umberto, showing the distribution by country and by type of organization. In terms of liaisons, it was very important because I think we are in line with the actual trend of Inspire to go into the vertical domains. And so we established these liaisons with project funded under the LIFE program, plus related to more environmental domains, Geosmart City with the energy and buildings, again LIFE projects dealing with natural risk zones, LinkVit for the training, iScope, iLocate, and also other which are coming also after the end of the project. For instance, this Publica Mundi is mostly related to big data. Formal liaisons have been established with these organizations, with the CENTI 287, the technical body, the EEN, the European Enterprise Network, through one of its regional nodes. It is very important because a very huge network, this one. And also with very recently with this association in Tunisia for the information geographic. We have geographic information. We have been invited there to tell about Smespire. In terms of, there are other memorandum of understanding established with the following organizations. Very important, this EBPC, European Business Promotion Center, which is based in Shanghai. They invited us twice. They want to, I don't know if you saw the email yesterday, it seems that there is another invitation to go there to start some work there, and also with the Australian association. Some informal cooperation agreement has been established with UNAGI, the Hungarian Association for Geoinformation. To very thankful the Gabor support to expand the network in Hungary, Afigeo in France, and also we started some interesting liaison for instance, with the Association of Engineers, even though it is very narrow, concentrated in one province in Italy, but it is an interesting opportunity to expand in our domains. Also, cooperation agreements with organizations are under finalization. With Neurogi, with Simon, we had some talk in the past. There is some interest to establish cooperation with the ERCEL, the European Association of Remote Sensing Laboratories, and also with the Italian National Association of Agronomists and Foresters. Under finalization, these agreements with these projects, with the EULF and ARENA, even though already something have been already done together, and also very important with the ELF, the European Location Framework, the big ICT PSP project. We just a few weeks ago, we had some contact with the dissemination manager, and we agreed on some plan, because they asked to wait for their presentation at the Inspire conference, and immediately after we will launch an agreement that we achieved. So now we are entering into the discussion that I would like to make with your support. And so let's start talking about what this EEIG is. So what to exploit? I think that these presentations were useful to understand and to have a feeling of what we created in this project. So these are tangible assets. The study, which can be easily repeated in other domains, can be made in time in order to attach some temporal trends in terms of turnover and so on. The best practice catalog at the showcase, which is very flexible in terms not only of new best practices, but also to modify the data model behind in order to incorporate other best practices coming from other fields. The database, which is this repository of companies, of sisters in this ecosystem. The training platform. We can imagine how once this platform has been established, how many new modules can be offered there. The network, of course, and the communication channels, which are something that are ready to be used in the future. How to exploit? So the main goal of the strategy is to guarantee, of course, the maintenance, not only, but the updating and the accessibility of the project results beyond the project lifetime. This is a must. Strictly connected with the maintenance of the project results, of course, is the updating of the current content, as well as of the provision of new content, mainly in terms of best practices and training offer, because the implementation of Inspire also in other fields is entering into a crucial phase now. So new content, apart the maintenance of the tools, is required. Also the network has to continue to expand in countries covered, because we had we started with an inventory of the GeoICT companies, starting from public databases, from magazines, from associations, but probably we are undersampling, so we need to expand. To expand in the vertical application domains like energy, transport, health, and others that are coming, and to make the project outcomes available to other projects' initiatives. This is very important, as tools to support their respective exploitation plans. This is one of the key points of our exploitation strategy. We would like to find a way that our resources we are offering to use our, in order avoiding to create duplicates. Very important is also for the network members to update their profiles in the database and to advertise their new products in the catalog in order to increment their visibility and therefore their business opportunities. Who's to exploit? So now we come into the crucial part. So one possibility that we started to envisage since the beginning of the project is to establish a legal entity. We have a very firm statement. A new legal entity in the form of EEIG, European Economic Interest Grouping. Why this form? Of course, we started comparing different options, a consortium, an association, but it seems that after an initial trade-off that this form is more flexible in order to manage at European level some business instead of a consortium. The duties of this legal entity are to assume, first of all, the technical and managerial duties needed to ensure maintenance, updating, upgrading, accessibility of the project results, as well as undertake other initiatives contributing to support the GeoICT stakeholder. This was the mission of the support action. All the project partners have been invited to be founding members of this EEIG. A draft statute has been already prepared and distributed to the project partners for their review. You can imagine in our consortium how different paths, because for instance a small company is more flexible to look at the statute and say, okay, we are okay, we can proceed. Some other, they have their legal offices, their legal departments, which are entering they already entered into the details of the statute. And for us, for me particularly, which I'm coordinating this finalization, I'm really glad to receive these comments, because it means that they are studying in detail and looking at how can be optimized this mechanism. So which is the mission, which is the business plan of this EEIG? First of all, here is the main, let's say, the dichotomy, which we hope can be merged, because there is definitely a sort of something related to, let's say, a sort of association, the association part we call. So continue to maintain the resources to make them available. But we are aiming also at entering in this legal entity is aiming at entering in some new business. For instance, offering in this part, why not to aim to participate in, for instance, in Horizon 2020 projects, offering to consortia. Of course, this is quite a difficult part, because we believe that having produced such kind of assets in terms of the so-called DEC activities, dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities, of course, each leader tends to assume himself or herself these work packages, these activities. But one possibility that we are going to investigate is to offer to this consortia to reuse this part together with us, saving money, in our opinion, because we are already confident with the use of these resources. And also because by statute, we represent collective interest, we think that we can apply also for coordination in support actions. Of course, we are starting to think concretely to identify the revenue streams. Of course, some annual fees of the members, which have to be essentially needed to cover the operational costs that we want to keep very, very low. And also, we believe that this participation to projects can become another important activity of the project, as well as fees related to services sold to third parties. So you see these two souls of the EEIG, one more to continue the resources and the other entering into more business-related activities. So in terms of business model that we would like to support also, not just in terms of the EEIG, but of the members. Playing with the paradigm of AAS as a service, so data as a service, software, platform, infrastructure, or any combination of them, this is related to part of the discussion that we are going to have in a minute. We think that probably a combination of the above listed business models can best fit in delivering product services. And to announce a new acronym, which is Inspire as a Service business model, which can start from the tailored characterization of the segmentation of the business process related to Inspire, can be the way forward to put together complementary and specific skills of the different companies. And indeed, we started to produce some so-called case history of these business models by some of the members that is available on the YouTube channel of our project. But in terms of near future, of course, you can imagine we need to establish the legal entity. There are some activities from the legal point of view to be done, but we already have some pressure behind. I like to use this photograph. We have been invited in Tunisia, in Hammamet, the GeoTunis 2014, and there is a big interest in making a consortium with the Smespire EEIG to participate to international projects. International cooperation, in Horizon 2020 seems much more favorable, much more achievable than in the past, and so now there is it started a roadmap to make a concrete result. And then Shanghai is pushing us very much to make some work together. We had some, apart of the formalities that we learned being there, the signatures and papers and sealing every word that we sign, but and here there is the recent fair, very big fair in which we participated. The idea behind is the following, which is very interesting in my opinion. It seems that these people there is looking at Smespire as a sort of flag of quality of ICT excellence in Europe, which is invited to establish new business there. Of course, we know that working with China, there are a lot of IPR issues, but I think that we are not so many patents to defend. So for us, for the GeoICT domain, I think it can be very interesting because we want to export something. When they learn that with Inspire, we made an institutional framework to establish data models, for instance, they are extremely interested in learn how to reuse this model. So we believe that there are many opportunities there, and this is something that at the moment it seems that we are in delay in replying to them, because they want this EEIG already constituted, because they say a project is anything for us. We want a legal entity, we want some legal counterpart to work with. But anyway, it's extremely encouraging. So we finished. I'm sorry, we have expanded a bit the time slot, but it was important to show you what we created here. And so I think it's time to benefit from the very qualified panelists here to have a first impression of what we are aiming at in the future. First of all, let me thank. I'm extremely grateful to the panelists who accepted to be here. Starting from the order here, Francois. I don't know which of your affiliation, but for us, let me say that through Affigeo, it was very important to have some connection in France, which unfortunately was not covered in the initial consortium. And so it is extremely important for us to have also the view of how also, I think you represent how an association is working extremely powerfully in your country. We have Stefan Jensen from European Environment Agency giving some insight from the top level. Zinia, which is representing one of the founding members of the EEIG. And then we have Simon from Eurogi, also very well representing the world of the association behind. And we have Hugo in the back, let's say guru of the I don't know, the father of one of the co-fathers. I don't know how to anyway, Hugo, I think you don't need any kind of presentation. And also we have Ray, which is an independent consultant, but thanks to the work he made in the ULF, he can support us. And coming to closing the loop, also then, which is not only partner of the project. I know that your legal department is studying how to fit with the statute, but I think that your experience in working in all the strategies currently in place is very important. So I would like to make a first roundtable, just a confirmation from you that that we agree that it is increasing the demand of no more geographic information, but the so-called location-based information. So I would like that you can confirm, encouraging this positive trend of increasing of demand of information, geographic information, and if you can substantiate this with a couple of examples made with your experience. So I kindly ask you to try to reply to this.
On the thoughts, I don't know whether I have to turn this way or this way.